Friends. So today we are going to be looking at different ways that we can cook eggs. So we oftentimes call these egg cookery methods. And I want to show you some of the common ways that a person could cook an egg. So I'm going to quiz you a little too, because I think some of you will be familiar with a few of these, if not all of them. So looking at the first one, egg cookery method number one. If I were to show you this picture in the slides, what would you be looking at? What kind of egg is that? Yeah, and I'm sure some of you are saying right now that's an omelet, and some of you have tried making an omelet before. Some of you have maybe ordered an omelet from a restaurant, and maybe there's some of you who have been curious and you're thinking, I would like to try to make an omelet sometime, but I just haven't tried yet. So some things to know about omelets is you have this technique that we would call digging and filling, and that's what I'll kind of talk you through and then I'll show you a quick video clip of how you can make your omelet. So looking at these visuals here, you can see that you would start off with your hot pan. So you would do a water flick test where you dip your fingers in water, you flick the pan. If the water sizzles and dances, you know it's ready for the eggs. So at that point, you would either spray your pan with some cooking spray, maybe put in a teaspoon or two of butter or margarine, something so it's not going to stick to the pan. And then you're going to pour in your beaten eggs. Now, once you start to notice that the edges of the eggs are firming up and they're losing their translucency, and you can see it here on this picture too, that's when you're going to start to do this technique called digging and filling. So you can take a rubber scraper, a spatula, whatever works best for you, and you're going to push the raw egg into the middle of the pan or towards the middle. And that's what we call digging. You're digging the egg in towards the center. And then what happens is you tilt your pan so that the raw runny egg runs into these holes that you have now created, and that's going to fill the empty space. So you dig, tilt the pan, fill in with the raw runny egg. And you can see how it's going to start to look wrinkly as you do this. So you dig a hole, tilt the pan, fill it in with raw runny egg. Dig a hole towards the center, tilt the pan, fill it in with the raw runny egg. So dig and fill, dig and fill, dig and fill. And you just keep working around the edges of the pan, and eventually you'll stop digging as big of holes. The digging will get less and less as you go around because there's going to be less and less raw runny egg to actually fill in those spaces, because eventually you're going to get to something that looks a little bit like this. Now granted, this one I can totally tell that they flipped it over because I can see the brown cooking marks here. If you do omelets, you could get to a point where there's no raw runny egg and it's just like nothing filling the holes in, and you would be ready to already do step number 5, which would be to put your fillings on, whatever they might be. And then your last step would be to fold your omelet in half, or you could do what they call a trifold, which is pretty popular in French cuisine, where you would fold a third of the omelet in towards the center, fold the other third in, and then it's folded kind of like what you would see with a brochure, kind of that look, like a pamphlet. So either in half or trifold, it would be completely your choice. Okay, so that's how you can go about making an omelet, and I want to show you this short video clip here from the Egg Farmers of Canada for how you can make an omelet. And that's just a quick example of those steps that we just talked through. So here you can see another example just to make sure we're understanding digging and filling. So the idea is you're digging in towards the center of the pan, you would tilt the pan, and then this runny stuff is going to fill in this empty space. Okay, so that's the idea of digging and filling. And then eventually it starts to look like this, where again, yeah, it's going to look a little bit wrinkled, but that's because that's where you've been digging your holes into that egg in the pan. Okay, so we looked at that video. So let's go on to the egg cookery method number 2. If you were to look at this one, this little nugget of an egg, what would your guess be for this one? What's this egg cookery method? Ah, yes. Some of you have maybe said poached egg, sorry. It's a poached egg, yes. So when we have an egg that's in this nice little nugget and bundle, that's going to be a poached egg. And the way that you make a poached egg is you start with a lower sided skillet or pan. You could do it in a saute pan too, or like a saucepan, I should say. But basically what's going to happen is you fill the pan up with just a couple inches of water, not very much, and the idea is you're going to bring it to a bare simmer. So there should not be bubbles breaking the surface. Okay, and then what you'll do is you'll have your egg cracked open in a custard cup. And when the water is ready, you're going to gently slide the egg into the water. And then what'll happen is this water temperature is going to start to slowly cook these egg whites up and around the egg yolk until you start to have some things that look like this in your pan. So it starts to get kind of tucked up, wrapped and around, hence why you start to get this pouch or this nugget-like look to your egg. And then when you take them out of the pan after just a couple minutes, you're going to have your poached egg. And sometimes they'll come out looking really nice and clean and tidy, kind of like this one and this one here. But sometimes you can have these little pieces that are a little bit frayed, and that's not a problem. You can just take a spoon and just trim this off so it ends up looking like a smooth edge to the egg. Okay, the other thing you can do is, let's say this one right here, you're like, it just doesn't look as good. Here's where I always tell students, play to the pretty. And by that, I mean, find your pretty side of the egg. So if you could gently flip this egg over, I'm almost guaranteeing the other side of the egg looks much prettier and compact than the side that we're seeing here. So oftentimes it's just a matter of just turn that egg over and you can get to the more meal appeal looking side. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to be honest with you, this one can be a little bit tricky for Culinary 1 students to make, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy, simple. You just got to practice it a couple of times. So for this one, I'm going to take us back to our good old friend Elton Brown here, and he's going to show us quickly how you can make a poached egg.
The word poach means to cook in simmering water. It comes from the French word poche, meaning pouch, after the shape of a poached egg. Oh, not very pouch-like, are they? Probably taste great, though. Or maybe not. Looks like you could use some poached egg tips. Let's begin with your pan. A wide non-stick skillet is perfect for egg poaching because it gives you room to work and a nice slick surface for the eggs to settle on. You're also going to need 1.5 inches of water, no less and no more, and you're going to need to bring it to a bare simmer. Now the eggs. Now since their membranes are stronger and less likely to break, fresh eggs are best. Now if you want to know how old your eggs really are, take a look at the end of the box for a 3-digit number representing the 365 days of the year. Since this one says 057, we know they were packed on February 26th. Break each egg into a small custard cup. By the way, those cloudy whites are a sure sign of freshness. Now grab yourself a thermometer and a slotted spoon suitable for a non-stick vessel. When the water hits 190 degrees, you're ready to go. First, we want to get those little bubbles off of the bottom because they can create divots on the bottom of the eggs. Last addition, a tablespoon of white wine vinegar will help to coagulate the outside of the whites faster, giving us a better shape. Now, for insertion, you want to push the cup all the way into the water and slowly pour in the egg. Some of the water comes over into the cup, that's fine, doesn't matter. Smoothness is key here. Take your time. Water goes in, and then the egg goes in. Arranging them this way will also help you remember which one needs to come out the fastest. There, 4 go in. Good. Now, go ahead and set your timer for 4.5 minutes. And you want to maintain the heat so that you keep that to 190 degrees, no hotter. Basically, you should be able to stick your finger in and pull it back out without going, ow! Now, when the time is up, remove with the slotted spoon. You're just going to have to kind of jiggle it off at the bottom, but the non-stick will prevent any adhesion. There, it doesn't look really attractive now, but it will, don't worry. Now move those onto a towel or even a paper towel. Smoother is better because a coarse surface can actually make a permanent pattern on the eggs. That's okay if you don't mind that kind of thing. Now, as far as this jagged bit, just use your spoon and kind of curve around to remove that. That way you'll have a nice pouch shape. Now, if you're not going to eat them right away, you can move your poached eggs into ice water and refrigerate them for up to 8 hours. Then just to reheat them by putting them back into some hot water for about 1 minute. That's a good idea for parties. I'll be back. Now, as for serving, the traditional breakfast is, of course, fine, but dinner is an option too. I like mine on a nice tossed salad with a bit of vinaigrette, but that's just me.
Okay, so there you can see a little bit more visual in the video of how you can make those poached eggs. And some pretty common examples of how someone might serve a poached egg. Simple bread or toast with some salt and pepper doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be kept pretty simple. If you want to try to kick it up a notch, you could try to do what we would call eggs Benedict, where you would take either a slice of brioche bread or maybe like a I don't know. You could do a crescent roll. You could do an English muffin, really just something grain related on the bottom, but typically it'd be brioche if it's like staying traditional. And then usually there would be a slice of Canadian bacon, and then your poached egg would go on top with some hollandaise sauce. If you've not tried Eggs Benedict and you don't mind a runny center yolk, this is some pretty good stuff right here. It's actually one of my favorite breakfast to make. And then another thing you could do, because obviously it's not just limited to breakfast, like Elton had said, a very popular way would be to just take some fresh steamed or grilled asparagus and put your poached egg on top, and then do some shaved fresh cheeses or hard cheeses. And it's pretty good because the yolk essentially becomes like a sauce for the asparagus. So you've got some options with poached eggs, and obviously it goes well beyond what you're seeing in these pictures here. But just to give you some ideas, these are 3 that I came up with. Okay, so we looked at our video. So now we're going into egg cookery method number 3. And I'm curious, does anyone have any idea of, what could this egg method be? If you've never seen it actually on a plate, some of you might have seen an egg that looks like this. If you've ever had those play food sets when you're a little kid, there's usually one that looks very much like this one. And if any of you are guessing that this is a fried egg, you would be absolutely correct. And sometimes we would have people call this one a sunny side up egg because the yolk is sitting nice up on top, kind of like the sun in the sky. So fried eggs are pretty fun to make and they're pretty quick. Basically what you do is you would start with your hot skillet, and again do your water flick test. So flick some water on the pan. If it sizzles and dances, it's ready. And then go ahead and put some fat in the pan or spray it with some non-stick cooking spray, just so the egg is going to be easy to release and take out of the pan when it is done. But basically what happens is you just leave the egg alone when it's sitting here. You don't want to mess with it because you could end up with like a scrambled egg or an omelet, and that's not what we're going for here. We want a fried egg. So the heat from the pan is going to start cooking the egg whites, and you're going to notice that they start to turn opaque versus this translucent see-through egg appearance over here. So eventually this is all going to become a whiter opaque color, and then basically once you've lost the translucency, you take it out of the pan and your egg is done. Now, if I were to flip this egg over, I now have what would be called an over easy egg because some people would want to ensure that, yep, this egg white indeed has been cooked all the way through, and that now becomes over easy. Now, if you're a person that doesn't like the runny yolk, when you flip it over, you could cook it a little bit longer so it actually cooks the yolk more thorough. So you might have something that's called an over medium or over hard egg, where now you start to lose the runniness of the yolk. So it just would depend on what your preference is when you go to sit down and eat your egg. So to show us how to make a fried egg, I'm going to go to a very popular recipe website called allrecipes.com. If you have not ever been on this website, oh my goodness, there are so many recipes for you to choose from. Not just eggs, there's lots and lots of stuff that you can find. So I'm just going to show you this video clip here so you can see the process of how you can make these fried eggs.
If you need a quick breakfast snack or meal, a fried egg is a high protein and inexpensive option. Crack an egg, and inside you'll find a sunny yolk and a gelatinous white. With a little oil or butter, a nonstick pan, and a spatula, you'll have a meal in minutes. Eggs come in different sizes, in brown or white shells, and you can buy organic eggs or eggs raised on a local farm. When it comes to selecting eggs for frying, big eggs, grade A or double A, make the biggest show on the plate. Before you crack, inspect the shells to ensure that they are clean and uncracked. Cracks are an open door for harmful bacteria. Check the sell-by or expiration date. Fresh eggs taste the best. To keep eggs at their peak of freshness, store them in the fridge in their original carton. They'll keep for 3 to 5 weeks after you buy them. Now let's fry an egg. Heat the pan over medium heat for about a minute. Crack your eggs into a bowl. Fish out any bits of shell. Next, add a little oil or butter to the hot pan. For 2 eggs, add about a teaspoon of the fat of your choice. If using butter, wait a few seconds for it to stop foaming. If using oil, when it starts to shimmer but not smoke, it's ready. Tilt the pan to evenly coat the surface with hot fat. You're ready to fry. Pour the eggs from the bowl into the pan. If your egg is really fresh, the yolk will sit up in the center of the thick egg white. With older eggs, the white will spread out a bit. If you like a compact fried egg, pull the egg white edges closer to the yolk with the tip of your spatula. If you want a larger fried egg, like one for a sandwich, cut through the thicker part of the white so it spreads out. Here's the trick for making tender, not rubbery egg whites. When the egg white firms up and loses its translucence, turn the stove heat to low and cover the pan with a lid. Covering the pan helps distribute the heat. The egg whites cook evenly and stay tender. To hurry along the cooking process, you can spoon baste a little hot oil or butter over the eggs. Add a little salt and pepper, or sprinkle fresh herbs such as chives or lemon thyme for a flavor boost. Here's how you make eggs like a short order cook. Sunny side up, continue to cook on low until they're done to your liking. Eggs over easy. When the whites are almost cooked, turn each egg over gently with a spatula. Then let the yolks finish to whatever degree of firmness you prefer. Food safety experts recommend cooking eggs until the yolks are very firm. For a proper sit-down breakfast to a dinner on the fly, fried eggs are fast and easy. Top a salad for an extra protein punch. Wrap in a tortilla or snuggle between 2 pieces of crusty bread. Fried eggs go from shell to plate in a matter of minutes.
So that's how we can make a fried egg. So they showed some examples of how you can eat them in obviously sandwiches, breakfast items. I know that there's some places that they'll put a fried egg on top of the hamburger. Some places will even put them on top of pizza. There's just lots that you can do with a fried egg, and it just is up to you of where you want that fried egg to be and how you want to eat it. Okay, so looking at egg cookery method number 4. If you take a look at this picture here, what do you think this one is? If any of you are saying a hard cooked egg or a hard boiled egg, you would be correct. And in recipes or just out in the general public, you can hear those terms both used, hard cooked and hard boiled. Okay, so the way that we would make a hard cooked or hard boiled egg is we would start with a saucepan and we would put our raw eggs down at the bottom of the pan. Then we're going to cover them with water. And we want to just cover the eggs, by an inch or two of water. You don't want to fill the pan up all the way. Okay, so then what will happen is you are going to bring that water up to a boil. And once it's to a boil, you want to remove the pan from the stove and then you're going to put a lid on the pan. Okay, so we want a lid on the pan to trap that heat and that steam so that the hot water and the steam can cook the eggs thoroughly. Once your timer goes off, you are going to take those eggs gently out of the pan, preferably using a slotted spoon, so that way you're keeping the eggs and your fingers safe from any kind of burns. And we like to do what's called shocking them. And shocking them is where you would take a bowl of ice water and you put the eggs down into it, and it's going to cool the eggs down at a quicker rate to help prevent that greenish gray ring that can sometimes form around the yolk. And there's nothing wrong with that for eating purposes. It's not going to hurt you, but it is a definite sign that, hey, you cooked your eggs for too long. Ooh. And so if that's a thing that's like a visual turn off and like, ooh, those eggs don't look as good and I don't want to eat them, well then yeah, shocking is definitely going to help you out with that, to stop that cooking as quickly as it can. And then once those eggs are cooled down, at least to room temperature, or you could stick them in the fridge and let them chill before you crack them open, you get to the point of then, yeah, you're ready to crack them open. So you want to make sure you crack the egg on all sides of the shell, every part that you can possibly get it, and then you just gently peel away. And my advice would be try to work with that air cell again, because remember, if you can get into that air cell, you've got a little bit more of the shell to grab onto, and that should make peeling your egg a lot easier. And then ideally, you're going to have eggs that look like this, where they're intact, they're not gouged out or ripped into. This is definitely like, oops-a-daisy, we had some troubles getting that shell off of the egg. So to show you how you can make a hard-cooked egg, I will get our next video queued up here, and this is coming from the Incredible Edible Egg Cooking School.
Hi, I'm Chef Robert, and today I would like to show you how to make hard-boiled eggs with tender whites and golden yolks every time. Here's what we'll need: 8 large eggs, water, salt and pepper, a medium pot with a lid, slotted spoon. Our first step, we're going to place our eggs in the pot. We're using cold water. We'll cover it just about an inch past the top of the eggshell. And one of the reasons we want to make sure that we cover it with enough water so that the white will stay white. You can get a brown effect if you don't have enough water in here. Have you ever seen hard-boiled eggs with a green rim around the egg yolk? It occurs when the eggs are cooked far too long or at too high of a temperature. As soon as the pot starts to boil, remove it from the burner and cover the pan. Let the eggs stand in the hot water for about 9 minutes for medium, 12 minutes for large egg, 15 minutes for extra large. I'll come back, check on our eggs in a minute, and we'll go to the next step. Now that we're back and our eggs are boiling, we'll now turn them off. Remove them from the heat, place the lid on, and we will let that set for 12 minutes. We'll come back, we'll have the perfect boiled egg. Okay, 12 minutes is up and we're back. One safety tip: when you're boiling something, you want to lift your lid away from you to keep the steam from coming directly at you. Now, you can cool these off by draining them and then running water over them. Or, what we're going to do is bring in an ice bath. Move some of this out of the way. And we're going to use slotted spoon and carefully put them in. Don't splash yourself. While these are cooling, let's open up one and see what happens. See if we came out with that perfectly boiled egg. Bring our little plate. Have a little bowl. Kind of crack it all around there and loosen it up. You also have a little bowl of water to rinse off any added eggshells. Okay, we've rinsed all the shells off. Let's see what we have here. Oh man, look at there. Great protein, great snack, great meal.
So that's how we can make our hard-cooked or hard-boiled egg. So things that you can do, you could do like the chef did where you just sprinkle some pepper and salt on it and call it good. But there's lots of things you can do with hard-cooked or hard-boiled eggs as well. You can do deviled eggs, you can top them on salads, lots of possibilities. Again, it just is kind of a matter of what are you up for. So our last egg cookery method, dun dun dun, we're gonna get to that one and oop, not that one. We're going to do this one. So our last egg cookery method, if you take a look at this plate, what would we be looking at? If you said scrambled eggs, you are correct. And my apologies, that's a typo. This should be egg cookery number 5. So here we have scrambled eggs. So this is by far a very versatile egg that you can make. You can use it in lots of different dishes. And the way that you would start is essentially you crack open your eggs in a bowl. You beat them up either with a whisk or you could use a fork. You could add in a little bit of water or milk to help with some of the fluffiness and the cooking. And essentially you just start off with a hot pan, you pour your eggs into the pan, and you just gently keep the mixture moving and fold it over. You don't want to sit there and stir and stir and stir and stir and stir. That's going to just break up the eggs into smaller little bits and chunks. So it's just every once in a while, you're just kind of giving it a good little push around the pan and folding it over until you do not see any runny, liquidy egg, okay? So if you're not seeing runny egg in the pan, then your egg is done. Because we have to remember that when we take a hot pan off of the stove, it's still hot, which means these eggs are still cooking. So there's a rule of thumb out there that if an egg is done in the pan, it's going to be overcooked by the time you put it onto the plate. Ooh, yeah. So as long as we don't see runny egg, it's good because by the time you actually transfer it out onto your plate, any little spot that you might have been worried about, it should have been taken care of by just the residual heat that's still in the pan as it's cooling down. Okay, so for this one, we're just going to do one more video from the Incredible Edible Egg website. So let's take a look at how we can make some pretty awesome scrambled eggs.
Hi, I'm Chef Robert, and today I'd like to show you how to make light and fluffy scrambled eggs. We have 4 eggs, 1/4 cup of milk, dash of salt, pepper, and 2 teaspoons of butter. And our equipment will be a non-stick skillet, a hand whisk, with a plastic spatula. First, let's scramble our eggs. We're going to add that. Put our milk in. Add a little salt. We can even add our pepper. You can do this before or after. I like to do it incorporated in. It's easier to break the yolks first before we start whisking. Easier incorporation. Scrambled eggs. If you want a firmer scrambled egg, what you would do is not beat it as much. If you like a light, fluffier egg, you'll go into a nice little whisk, incorporate a little air in there. We have a non-stick skillet and a rubber spatula. Okay, again, we want to coat our whole surface with our butter. Let that go for a second. Now, we'll whip again. Okay. We're going to pour it on in. Now, we're going to just kind of move the egg around. You'll see it starting to form. Right, notice you can see the scramble of the egg happening. Well, I begin to smell the doneness. It's almost time to eat. Want to cook it to the proper temperature and doneness. We can turn it off because the eggs will continue to cook in the hot skillet. So, while that's doing that, it's time to plate up, serve up, and eat up. I have enough for 2 people today. Egg on their plate, right there, put it on there. Okay, I'm going to serve my guests so we can eat. Thank you.
So that's how you can make some scrambled eggs. And as far as serving, again, lots of different possibilities. You can eat them very simple, not a lot of seasoning. You can really start to dress them up with lots of different items that are out there. And yeah, it's just whatever you're up for. Now, with scrambled eggs, if you've been thinking more about this final, remember we're doing those breakfast egg wraps. We will be doing scrambled eggs in our wraps. So what you just saw in that video is going to be the egg cookery method that you will use to complete your lab final next week, okay? So if you need to, you can always go back to this link. You can watch the video again a couple times if you need to, if that helps boost your confidence for how this is gonna work. If you got an egg or two at home, try making some scrambled eggs. Try practicing before you get back to the kitchens for your final. But this essentially, again, is what our end product should be looking like next week. So that is our egg cookery methods slideshow. So let's go back to Canvas and we'll continue on with our agenda.